Time once again for the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Lesky, Soren Petro with you as we talk about a little bit of a winning spurt, if you will. I mean, I think that's what we could call it now is, back-to-back wins. It's at least improvement. Are they starting to figure something out this weekend with a couple of wins over the Seattle Mariners? When are they really out of it? When are you officially, truly out of it? If the Royals are healthy, what are they? How good is Stephen Kolek? How is he possibly this good? The way he looked with a complete game shutout, or a shutout, I guess is a complete game. So a shutout. What's the starting pitching plan after Kolic? What about when Bubic comes back? We'll get into that. Did we overestimate this team? If so, where? Bobby Witt, is it his MVP to lose? We're also going to check in on the prospects as well. We're doing it right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running here on a Sunday night. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation. Join us live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Got a number of people already commenting in the comment section. So come on in. We do it at 9 o'clock on Sundays. Appreciate you listening whenever you can fit us in. David, 2 games. What does it mean? Is it signs of things going in the right direction, or is it baseball happens?
I mean, it's probably baseball happens, right? Like, let's be real. It's interesting, I think, because what I think watching probably specifically the White Sox up close, but also the Rockies to some extent. When people think bad team, they think, oh, they're never going to win. Well, bad teams win games. You know, the bad teams win 2 in a row. Bad teams win series. The Royals to this point have been a bad team. I don't know that you can definitively say that they are a terrible team, but they've been terrible this year. That's what they've been. I mean, I'm not saying you can argue that they are a bad team, but I'm just saying that we know they have been. But they're a competent team. And so you're going to win games here and there. There's 2 sides to this. One, it takes more than 2 games to stem a tide, right? But at the same time, they can't win 2 in a row till they win 1. They can't win 3 in a row till they win 2. Like this is the dumbest cliche, but it's true. You have to go 1 game at a time. And so at this point, no, I'm not saying they've shown any kind of turnaround, but what I am, it's better than losing 10 in a row.
Right.
And it's better than losing, what was it, 10 of 11? Is that what it was after the starting with the end of the Tiger series, whatever, what doesn't matter. It was awful baseball for 2 weeks. And I think what we've seen from this team more than anything is that they are just incredibly streaky. And when they're going good, they look like they could make some noise in the playoffs. And when they're going bad, they look like they could challenge the White Sox and Rockies of the last couple of years. So it's, hopefully for our sanity, they're turning into a good stretch where we can watch some good baseball for a couple of weeks. And we just have to understand that it's probably going to turn. It's probably going to be ugly for a couple of weeks after that.
By the way, a friend of mine saw the little thing that goes out for the podcast, and are the Royals actually showing signs of having a pulse? And he texted me that and then put under it, what are we doing here, Soren? ? And I said, laugh out loud. The quick answer is going to be not really, right? Like,
yeah, right.
He goes, blind squirrel the last 2 games. In other words, the old adage of blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Sure.
I get that, and that is what the answer should be right away. That's what the Royals should think, is that we've got to stack a lot more of these on top. Like it is not fixed. We thought it was fixed before. We thought it was fixed when we got to just a game and a half out, and we're sitting a couple of games below 500. To your point, yes, we're not going to know. Like it's something Curtis had a good way of putting it. You don't know when it gets fixed. You can look back and know when it did, though.
You realize it 2 weeks later, a month later.
Yes,
Yeah, for sure.
That, okay, now I see. Now we've got to figure it out. This is where it is. And that time will stick in your mind, on down the road. And so I do believe that's the case. But I think there are some signs. Like, I think, number one, if we feel like we did a pretty good job of analyzing this team, then we think that they're better than they've played. Now, the injuries are a big part of it. We're going to get to that here in a little bit. But I think that's, they're maybe going to start getting some guys back, and then they'll start looking better. And I think we both agreed, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, that we said, are the injuries a bigger part of this than really credit is being given to? And I think we both would agree now, after looking at that, yeah, we are. We when you talk about your closer, now one of your setup guys has been gone. You're talking about your ace, your number 2 or 3 starter, at least based upon expectations, in Chris Bubich being down. Your starting second baseman, as much as people don't like it, like all that added up. And they're going to start getting a number of those things back. And so I do think, they weren't deep, right? And that's being exposed, right? That's, their system is not up and running.
And real quick, just not to interrupt, but to interrupt, yes.
No, go ahead.
They lost their number 6 starter also, which I think is pretty relevant, because Ryan Berger was probably I don't know, I guess I haven't looked at every team. I don't think you could argue he's one of the 6 best number 6 starters in baseball. I would be very surprised if they weren't top 20% in number 6 starters with Ryan Berger. And with injuries, not having him to replace one of those guys too has already cost them one game. Well, I guess the offense cost them that game more than the pitching. But I think that's important too, that some of the depth we thought they had has already gone too.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because that's where they would have turned, and they had to go even one step past that. And that's why they've had a bullpen start already with Bailey Falter, who they had transformed into being a reliever, spent a month trying to get him ready to be a reliever. And now, he's part of a bullpen committee that's going to try to get through games again. Hopefully when Cole Reagans comes back, that goes away. But yeah, I think that's a great point, because if it were Bergert instead of a bullpen game, you'd feel a lot better.
Sure.
And you would also feel better at not rushing somebody back. As it is now, I think the Royals got to be real careful that they don't do that, because they don't really have an answer for where to turn with their pitching. And so, yeah. But I also do feel like there's an element of almost that, okay, we've blown it. Like, they're ready. I threw in the towel when they were swept at the hands of the Red Sox. And same. I'm hoping that I'm a week away or 2 weeks away from being like, holy cow, did I get that wrong? Man, I gave up on him too soon. And if that happens, that'll be great. But I'm wondering if that almost was okay, this season is lost, and that released some pressure. Like, okay, we got swept by Boston. Boy, we got to get going. We lost to Seattle. Oh, screw this. We're just not good. And then that released some pressure, and they played better baseball the next couple of games. I don't know.
Yeah. They looked better. I mean, look, you always, we'll get to Kolic in a couple minutes, but you always look good when your starting pitcher goes 9 and doesn't give up a run. That helps. But they scored 5 runs. I mean, it's not like it was a 1-0 final. They got some help from a pretty shoddy Mariners defense I didn't expect them to be a good defense. I thought they'd be better than this. But yeah, I think they're human beings. And sometimes the pressure starts to build, and you just have to relax. And maybe we could look back. I don't think we're going to. I'll preface it with this. We could look back on this and go, well, when they took the pressure off themselves, they played like the team we thought they would be, and they got back into it. I think you could look back at this series now. They have possibly the worst possible team coming in town for them in the Yankees, because they struggle so much against them. And maybe they've got that attitude, and they're going, whatever, I don't care who it is. We're just going to do whatever. But, it's a test right away, which is maybe a good thing. And maybe playing the Yankees thinking they're out of it is not the worst thing in the world for them. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I do think that I think that could be a positive because at some point you got to face down your fears. And so if they can have a decent go, and the Yankees haven't been playing that great a ball. Like I know.
No, they're 6-11 in their last 17.
Yeah. So, I mean, but they were they lost like 6 in a row the last time the Royals played them. And the Royals were the elixir to get them going. So, or maybe they've lost 4 in a row. Maybe I'm
No, it was, I had their schedule up because I was looking to see what it was. They had split with the Angels, which as we now know is basically like losing 4 in a row.
Yeah.
Because they're so bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm trying to just eliminate the fandom in it, but I can't. I mean, I'm wanting to believe that something's going in the right direction. But I do when Kolic, when they pitch well, it all looks easier. They get a couple of hits. Salvador Perez hits. This looks a lot.
Let me give you his numbers real quick since he's been back from back. He was always playing, but since he's been catching, which tells me that they feel like his hip is good. 289, 340, 489, 3 homers, 7 RBIs. This is 12 games. 6% walk rate, 10% strikeout rate. And today he had his 3rd swing of the year at 80 miles per hour or harder, which maybe means the bat speed is coming back a little bit. I'm not saying that we should have a welcome back party for Salvador Perez necessarily, right. But if you want to have a hypothesis that the hip injury was the problem for Salvi, and now that he's feeling better, he should be better. Well, so far you're right because the numbers after a 3-hit day today are really good. So I thought that was really interesting. And this fast swing percentage is still a little bit low, the 75 miles per hour plus, still lower than last year. But again, that swing today at 81 point, whatever it was, miles per hour, that was encouraging because he hadn't done any of that. So that was really nice to see.
Yeah, no, it was. And if he's hitting, if Vinny could hit, totally different scenario that we're looking at. If that's if that's what's going on here. So it's something that'll be really important for them if they're going to if they're going to actually turn the corner and contend the shot. I don't even like the words coming out of my mouth because I feel like it's like, I've already written them off, but that's what it's going to take.
Real quick, I did what I did when they were 7-15, and I looked at the number of teams who have made the playoffs since it expanded. Teams who have a 22-31 stretch. It doesn't mean they're going to. Again, I'm just going to say that the 23 Diamondbacks, they had what was the worst day? I'm trying to find 18-35 was their worst 53 game stretch. They made the World Series. Last year's Guardians, 2 years ago Tigers, last year's Dodgers, who won the World Series, the 23 Marlins, the 24 Mets, the 25 Yankees, the 22 Yankees, and the 22 Mariners. So 9. I'm shocked that it's this many. I only looked because I thought it would be like
9 out of 24.
9 out of 48.
9 out of 48.
9 out of 48 playoff teams in the last 4 years have had a 22-31 stretch. I'm always just curious about that, but there comes a point when it's never happened, and so could you be the first? Sure. But they're not at that point yet, at least record-wise. So there's that going for them.
At least it's on the board. We'll talk about when are you truly out of it. We'll do that next after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Concrete season is in full swing, and asphalt paving is revving up. So right now is the time to get your property on the schedule with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Whether you need new concrete work, a parking lot repaved, crack filling, seal coating, or full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all right here in Kansas City. Don't wait until the rush hits. Call today for a free bid and secure your spot before the calendar fills up. Get the process started right now at GannAsphalt.com. That's GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, when are you truly out of it? What is it where, like, we can sit there and say, like I said, I waved the white flag after the Boston series. When is it official? You're done.
It's a good question. I mean, it's context relevant, obviously. I've hemmed and hawed. We talked about this earlier. I've hemmed and before the show, obviously. I've hemmed and hawed about what the answer is. And I think it's, if you are 10 games back of a playoff spot with less than 100 to play, you're toast. You're probably toast if you're 10 games back with more than 100. You're probably toast anyway, actually, because you're just that bad that you're that far back. But I think that's the point when you go, look, if we do it, it's a miracle and great. But you know, it's not gonna. It's very 99.999% not going to happen. The good news for the Royals, they're 4 games back right now of a playoff spot, so they're not technically done yet, but they're almost done in the Central. They are 9 games back, which is crazy. I say that in a division that the winner last year was 15.5 back in August or July or whatever it was. So I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but that's what I think. Where's your number?
Well, 7 teams to get in front of for the wild card. I mean, they are just 4 back, but there are 7 teams between them in holding a playoff spot. My number, it's not the way the American League is going. It does feel like maybe the Guardians are going to take off. I mean, they're now 9 over 500, so
just crazy. They don't look that good, but good for them. They always do it.
So maybe they are going to run away and hide with this divisions, and it's just going to be about the wild card. I kind of think they're playing over their head, but I didn't expect this at all. So I should just everybody else is like, oh, I'm done doubting the Guardians. Not me. Ooh, I'm going to doubt them, and here they are, good again. But I the White Sox are. The bottom 2 wild cards right now are the White Sox at 26 and 26 and the Twins at 26 and 27. All right. Now there's teams from all the other divisions, Blue Jays, Mariners, Rangers, Orioles, Astros, and Red Sox also in front of the Royals. Only the Tigers and Angels are behind them. And I think, maybe you're not out of it, but you should not be talking about the playoffs. The old adage was until you're 500. If you're 500, then you can talk playoffs. And so that's a ways away. And I'm fine with that. But that would now mean that one of the playoff teams can't talk playoffs. So in this abridged, in this new look American League, I think you've got to be closer to the playoff spot than you are the bottom. And right now they are only 2.5 games ahead of the Angels, and they're 4 back of the playoff spot. So I think you need to just put your head down and play baseball, and maybe that's what they figured out this weekend. But I think you are fundamentally out of it when you're closer to last than you are a playoff spot, and they're there right now. So in my opinion, they're out of it. There's no point in talking about it.
But when you're out of it, they can get back into it.
On this one, yes. I think on because you put, I can't remember how you said it, but you did it pretty good, that it's like there's not a hard and fast rule, right? Yeah. Like, one, the way the American League is playing this year makes it different. And 2, I think it's like, what do you have at your disposal? If Cole Reagans were done for the year, if Chris Bubich were done for the year, then I would say they're out of it. I would say they can't get there because, and Bergert's done for the year, then I would say they're definitively out. Like, I don't know who the 5th starter is going to be moving forward, and you're going to lose somebody else along the way as well. That's how it works. And so I would definitively call them out at this point. The fact that they're going to get Cole Reagans back maybe on Friday, but he's got to come back and be Cole Reagans, and then he's got to come back and stay back. And
he's got to make, I don't know how many starts are left, 20. He's got to make 18 starts, whatever it is,
Yeah. Do you think there's any shot he goes every 5th day from here the rest of the way?
I mean, technically, yes, but I wouldn't bet on it. It's not. I have a hard time thinking that, given that he's had one season where I guess 2 seasons where he stayed healthy. It was 2023 as a reliever and then as a starter for 12 games with the Royals, and they were 12 fantastic games, and then 24, and then other than that, though, there's been injuries all along the way, and not to mention there's an elbow that had Tommy John once, and that. And I know he technically had it twice. I still say it's a little bit different with how he had two Tommy Johns because he didn't re-tear the ligament. The surgery didn't take. So it's a little bit different. But it's probably, I think that makes him more likely to need it again at some point. And now it's been, when was that? 6 years, 7 years, whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of ticking on Cole Reagan's time bomb. So no, I would not predict that, and we haven't even heard an update on Chris Bubic as far as I know. But when he comes back, which they didn't seem like it was a huge concern, but he also has missed time every year now. Now, most of that was recovering from Tommy John. He had it in 2023, missed the rest of the season, came back in 24 and pitched the rest of the season out of the bullpen. And then came back as a starter and made 20 starts before his shoulder barked. But still, that's 3 straight years. Now it's 4 straight years of missing time on the IL. So you can't predict Bubic is going to make
right.
Many more starts are left. But if you get 75% of the available starts for them, I think you feel pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I think, look, if Reagan's comes back, you start to get a little bit more optimistic. He needs to be good Reagan's. I don't know. I'm less convinced that Bubic is no big deal. They're talking like it's no big deal, but Reagan's is at least thrown. I mean, Bubic did what? Played catch, or did he have? No, he had.
Did he even do that?
Did I miss that? He started his throwing program yesterday.
Okay. Well,
Matt Strom had a bullpen session yesterday, so he's getting close to coming back. Those are the 3 that it looks like are going to be back. Bubic, I'm assuming we're still a couple of weeks away. On him, and there'll be a couple of rehab starts. I don't know what they're going to do with the Reagans. I mean,
he looked pretty good last night in Omaha. I don't know if they were in Omaha for Omaha. So I think they felt pretty good about that. The velocity got to, I think it was 98 was his top. He averaged 95 something, got some whiffs. Did give up a home run to Culpepper on his first batter, but I think I don't care about that, honestly. He threw a strike. I was happy about that.
I would be strikes overall. He only struck out 3 and 4 and change.
Yeah,
but I'm fine with it. I assume that if he's going to go Friday, he's not pitching again. Then he's going to do some kind of side session, maybe an extra throw.
Yeah, it's the timing is just wait. If he pitched yesterday, so they're off on Thursday. That's the problem. With giving him an extra, he may not do a side session. Actually, I mean, he'll do his regular side session, but I don't think he'll. I mean, if he's back.
He'll do whatever he'd normally do with an extra off day thrown in there, and he'll go Friday.
If Bubic comes back anytime soon, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to a 6-man for a while. So, he's that would be his typical cadence for a little bit, given injuries and Kolic and Cameron pitching better and all that. So, I think.
Well,
you're right. That will make us feel better.
Let's say they get all those guys back. Let's say we get Cole Reagan's back. That gets them 5 starters. And then let's say Bubic is back June 15th. Okay. Let's put him there. Then you think they go 6-man? Or does Chris Bubic, is it time to start talking about Chris Bubic in the bullpen?
Well, that's a fair point. I have not looked at you said June 15th. I'll just use that day. Not that just
I'm not predicting it. I'm just giving.
Yeah, it's a date you threw out. If he were to come
barring
back,
setbacks, I think could be reasonable.
Yeah, I think so. If he's starting a throwing program, he throws for a week, 2 rehab starts. I think that makes sense. Maybe it's 1 rehab start and it's a little earlier, but the 15th they play. That's a Monday. They play 5 days in a row, then an off day. It's a World Cup off day. And then they get another 8 in a row, and then they have an off day, and then they get 3 in a row, then an off day, and then all the way to the All-Star break. I could see them going June 15th to the break with a 6-man rotation and see how Bubic does. And if they decide, hey, we're going to move you to the bullpen, which I think you only do if you get back into the race, because I think that you're probably showcasing him to trade otherwise. Because it's the question is not his ability to be effective as a starter; it's his ability to actually pitch as a starter. So, You're going to get more for him in the rotation if you're trading him. I think they go. I think if it's June 15th, I think they go a month on a 6-man rotation.
Do you think he's more valuable, Kris Bubic, as a starter or as a reliever?
To a team, as a pitcher for the team, I think potentially as a reliever. As a trade piece, I think as a starter.
For the Royals, you think reliever, trade bait starter.
I think yes. If the Royals are contending, if something miraculous happens and they're 500 when he comes back, I'm going to use June 15th. If they're 500 or a game under game, whatever it is, I think he might be more valuable in the bullpen to this team. That also depends too. How does Matt Strom look when he comes back? Does he look like last year's Matt Strom or this year's Matt Strom? Because if he looks like this year's, then Bubic is more valuable in the bullpen. If he looks like last year's, then all of a sudden you got Bubic in the bullpen in Matt Strom. They're very similar because Daniel Lynch has stepped up, so that helps quite a bit. So there's so many moving parts, but I think, in my opinion, I think the only definite that I can say is that he's more valuable in a trade as a starter. So if they're moving guys, I think they got to keep him in the rotation.
I'll say it kind of depends upon how he throws. If he gets back to being the Bubic that we saw for 20 starts last year, yes, he's definitely more valuable. If he's kind of middling around like he has been this year, then I think he might be more valuable as a reliever.
Yeah.
And, it'd be interesting because Kolic doesn't fit in the bullpen.
No.
I mean, he's going back to Omaha. And so if you're, there's kind of like we want to get our best 5 offensive linemen on the field, so we'll move some guys to guard type of thing. It might be that somebody's got to come out of the rotation, and that somebody, the one guy that we know can perform out of the pen is Kris Bubic. So I think it's something to have in the back of your mind.
The other side of that, and this is a much bigger topic. We didn't even talk about this, but it popped in my head. The Royals have Cole Reagan signed through next year, and then he has another year of team control on top of that. It could be that the Royals look at this guy and say, look, we don't want you throwing 6 innings every 5th day. Maybe he's the guy they stretch out. And they say, look, we don't forget Carlos Estevez, but they thought they were going to have him this year. We don't have a closer next year. I mean, we got Lucas Urseg, but we like him in the role he was in. Maybe that's the guy you move. Maybe they do something really creative, which is anti everything you've ever heard, that 6 innings is more valuable than 1. And maybe he's the guy they push out there. I don't know. But that means they need 2 starters next year because they're losing Bubic instead of 1. So I don't know. I go back and forth, but that they have to at least consider that with all the time Reagan's has missed.
By the way, since you brought that up, there is no world where Kris Bubic is a Royal next year, is there?
There's one world. There's one world where he gets a qualifying offer. And I guess there's 2. One, he says, they gauge the market and they go, it's not worth the risk. I'm going to accept the offer. The other is that he gets
qualifying offer is like $20 million now, right?
Yeah. 20 point, whatever it is. It's the average of the top 100 salaries, I think. So we don't know what it'll be, but it's around 22 million. The other way it happens is if he gets that qualifying offer, goes to the market, and teams are like, I'm not giving up a draft pick for this guy.
Yeah.
And it's February 8th. And he comes back to the Royals. So I think there are worlds, but they're not the worlds that we thought they'd be last year at this time, the way he was pitching.
He has to be on magical June 15th. We're just bringing up just for talking purposes. They have no date in mind right now. But if he did, he would have to start the rest of the year and be better than he's been so far to warrant giving him that kind of money. Otherwise, there's no reason to give that kind of, and he has to make every start the rest of the year. Otherwise, you're not going to make that offer, because I guarantee you, no one would give up a draft pick. And I don't think he's worth that.
Yeah.
Based upon the injury history. So that's where I come back with. I'll offer up he's back fairly soon, and he does not miss another start the rest of the year, and he pitches at a high level. Then maybe that scenario plays out. But we're quickly. If he doesn't come back to the All-Star break,
yeah,
you're not putting that offer out, and nobody's giving up a draft pick for him.
Well, right, because you're at most you're getting, what is that, 12, 13 starts,
and I think he'll go to the market, and I think with the upside we'll have a Mets or a Dodgers or a Yankees or somebody that'll grossly overpay for 1 year, or even get a second year that they know, if he's hurt, fine, it's trash, we throw it away and we move on.
I could see him getting like a 2 for 45 type deal.
Yeah.
From one of those teams. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think there's any world that it fits with the Royals, by the way. Kolic, we want to talk about him. How good is he? Is he really so good that, we're looking at a guy that is, we ought to be talking about being bumped up towards the front of the rotation. We'll do that after you hear from our friends at Greenlight.
Greenlight Dispensary, voted Kansas City's best dispensary and your go-to for quick, convenient service. With 4 locations across the Kansas City area, we're never far away. Our drive-through and express windows make it easy to get in, get out, and get on with your day. Our award-winning service is powered by a team of experts dedicated to making your experience seamless and enjoyable. It's no wonder we've been voted the best. Convenient locations, fast service, knowledgeable staff. That's the Greenlight difference. Visit us today.
Gann Asphalt and Concrete is looking to grow their team. If you have heavy construction foreman experience with heavy equipment, asphalt or concrete labor, or just want to learn a new trade, contact Gann Asphalt and Concrete to join their team today. Top of the market pay, company provided insurance, and paid time off and holiday pay are just a few of the great reasons to join Gann's expanding team. Learn more about this great opportunity with Gann at GannAsphalt.com/careers. That's GannAsphalt.com/careers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, how good is Stephen Kolek? And how does a guy
best pitcher in baseball? No,
how does a guy, just getting in, at age 29, getting to the big leagues and still hasn't even grabbed his own spot, really, and yet he's been over the times he started the best pitcher the Royals have?
Well, I think that there's a couple things. One, we've talked about this a little bit. He throws strikes and he gets ground balls, and ground balls don't go over the wall. And he gets fairly weak contact. Generally, the one time he didn't was, and Quatrero actually, I think, said it best. I think it was today when he was talking about him. There were 2 innings against the White Sox that he just didn't. And I think that his overall numbers are really good. What does he have? 277 ERA, is that right? 277, yeah. And what he does is different than a lot of pitchers. So hitters don't see that as often. I also think sinker ballers develop a little bit later. So some of those guys, they take a little bit more time, and some of his delay in debut was a lot more. I still think a lot more about the COVID season. The fringe prospects, and he was a fringe prospect. They got hurt the most, I think, in that, and so it pushed him a year probably. I'm not saying he would have debuted at 23 instead of 27, but I think he would have been up a year earlier if he had another year of development before that. But guys like him are just a little bit different than other pitchers, and I'm not 100%. I'm not sold. He's not. I don't think he's this guy. And I think that I want to see what happens when teams see him 2, 3, 4 times when there's more of a book. But what he's doing is, again, you don't see this very often in guys. You don't see the low strikeout, weak contact pitcher anymore. It's just a different type of guy than what's out there. So I think being different helps quite a bit.
I mean, does it mean that like a market correction is coming? That like they just, no one's taking them serious still at this point. And when they really do hunker down, break out the tape, go to work on it. And, instead of being like, well, this is a 29-year-old 4A player, like whatever, let's go get some drinks tonight, fellas. Because this schlub's up, tomorrow, or the pitching coach or the hitting coach is going, I'm going to go see the kids. I'm ducking out early. Like, do we think that there's a correction coming? Like when you miss bats, or when you don't miss bats,
mm-hmm.
Is that inevitable that we're going to see something like that?
I think that, well, let me say a different way. Saturday's game was the exception for sure. Those dominant games. Yes, I think that you will see a bit of a correction there. I think that, and that's why I want to see what happens when teams see him again, when teams see him 2, 3, 4 times, because it's, he's got an interesting profile because he throws, he's averaging 94, 95 with his fastball, with his four seamer, similar to his sinker. It's got decent spin. he almost asks hitters to make contact with the ball, which is not today's game. It's just not. They every pitcher wants a whiff. He's willing to throw the ball in the zone, which is refreshing in some ways until he has a game and he gives up 7 runs in 3 innings because he threw the ball in the zone and they crushed it. I think that's going to happen. I think you give him enough starts, you're going to see a lot more of those. But I do think that there is a valuable back of the rotation starter in there because he's clearly capable of giving innings. I mean, 8 of 9 starts, he's gone at least 6, and they've all been 8 of 9 have been quality starts. The other one, he had 4 shutout innings before he fell apart in the 5th against the White Sox. And so I think that there's a lot of value there. I think we need to temper expectations that what he's done is probably not what he will do. But it's a profile that sinker ballers don't get swing. Like guys who get ground balls typically, and that's changed some, like a Framber Valdez type has changed this a little bit, but that's the one type of pitcher that has been proven to be able to succeed without a lot of whiffs. That said, every batted ball has a chance to be a hit. Every swing and miss has no chance to be a hit. So there is risk in the profile, but I like, you can't not like what you've seen from him.
Well, could he be Michael Wacha?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Michael Wacha was up at like 22. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Well, and Wacha gets more whiffs.
Not going to be the same, but I'm just saying he does this year, but he hasn't historically, has he?
Well, okay, let's see. Wacha's swinging strike rate this year, 9.6%. Kolic's is 7.4%. So, and last year was 9.8 for Wacha, 10.4 the year before. Wacha's been really consistently between 9 and 11.4 in his career. He's never been higher than 9.4 or 11.4. He's been lower than 9.4 once, and that was 2016. So, and then he was 8.1. So Wacha's lowest is still higher than where Stephen Kolek is this year. But it's not the same type of pitcher, but I do think you could kind of, and maybe you're asking half a run ERA more. But I think there's a guy who you can send out there 30 starts a year and say he's going to give us 175 innings at a I don't know. If he does that, if you ask me, would you bank a 4 ERA? I would probably say, let him pitch. Let's see what he does.
Okay.
A little lower.
Yeah. So you're more bullish on him than you are Cameron.
I was, I want to put this the right way. Cameron seems to have fixed his arm slot issues a little bit. The Royals noted that. I can't remember when Quintero talked about it today or yesterday. So that's huge because I think Noah Cameron with the right mechanics, he gets more swing and miss. And so I think that he has a chance to be, I think his good has a chance to be better long term. I think individual start, I think you're going to get, I don't think Noah Cameron will ever do what Kolic did this weekend. It's not going out on a huge limb to say he won't throw a shutout because nobody throws them anymore. But
right.
I think Kolic's very best is better than Noah Cameron. I think Noah Cameron can be consistently a little better while Kolic has a much more steady middle ground.
Okay.
As long as Cameron's arm slot is right, which is concerning because that's really easy to miss. That's really easy to lose for a start or 2 or 3 like he did earlier this year.
It is, but they got it back pretty quick. I mean, it's not like it's taken 2 years to try to figure out where it went. And as I look at Kolic, I do realize like, wow, that strikeouts per 9 is really low. I mean, it's down to under 5 this year.
Which I mean, that it was better than that before yesterday. He's at such a small sample that you have one game with 2 strikeouts and it's gonna kill you. But what did he have? 12 in what is that? 12 and 17 innings, which is 6.35 per 9. It's not huge, but one start does change that quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he's wearing a Royals uniform. I'll say that. Yeah. I mean, and I do think, he's the Al Fitzmaurice of today.
I like it.
Fitz was a heck of a pitcher. I mean, it's still the highest winning percentage of any pitcher in Royals history. And, but he didn't really miss bats, but he was able to keep, and he kind of walked more than you like. You go back and look at Al Fitzmaurice's, you're like, how did that
He
ERA?
walked some guys.
Yeah, how did that ERA come without those strikeouts? And like it's interesting, and maybe that's it. The Rays always have liked those. I think you were talking about this before. It's a different look. Everybody's a different look, so you don't get a time. Well, Kolic's a different look, and maybe whatever he is, it's going to be exaggerated here in Kansas City because nobody else has that look. So. Yeah, we'll just sit and enjoy the good times.
At worst, he's a great depth piece.
Yeah,
I mean, if he's if Bergert was your 6 and he was your 7 coming into the season, they also had one of the 5 or 6 best 7 starters, and probably, I mean, we're seeing probably the best, honestly, with what he's done so far.
Well, I mean, and coming into last year, they had the best fifth starter in Noah Cameron.
Yeah,
and if he's back, and you have that, and then you have the best 7th, that's actually a pretty good rotation.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about where we overestimated this team. As you look at it, what depth is one thing. I did not put enough into the fact that if somebody's slumping, they don't really have anywhere else to turn. They don't have anybody else that they can put up there. That was the first thing that I came up with on my list about like, okay, because I had this team for 88 wins. Because my feeling was they can't be as banged up as they were last year. And last year they still got to 82. So therefore it's onward and upward. But Jonathan India did play for him all last year. Now he's not playing. And that means depth that they had is now the plan. And to this point, there's no power from Nick Lofton, and the on base still sucks with Michael Massey. So they're kind of an incomplete player. Usually you like the platoon because it makes it one good player. No. I mean, this is kind of accentuates each of them's negatives. Now we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could grow into that. But that I think the India thing hurts people more than we realize, because I think all of us had him back as being the guy he was 2 years ago. So but I think overall it's depth. And I think, at least for me, I don't know why I thought the pitching staff would be healthier. The guys who were hurt last year are hurt again this year. I don't know what I was thinking that Chris Bubich and Cole Reagans would suddenly be healthy.
You were playing the odds and lost so far.
I think I disagree. I think the odds are, if I'd played the odds,
you were playing the statistical, I don't care, I don't understand baseball odds. Not that you don't understand baseball.
I know what you're saying.
The stats don't understand baseball.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, you just don't get it. It's fine. That's why I'm here. I'm holding your hand.
Appreciate that.
No, you were playing the, hey, it can't happen again odds. It shouldn't happen again, and it didn't work out so far. Now look, again, I'm not going to predict this, but if they come back and they each make 18 more starts, you'll be right. I mean, they will each have 25-ish starts, whatever that is. So, yeah, I agree with the depth. That was something that I was going to bring up too. But I also, well, there's the obvious. I mean, I don't think anybody could have predicted this. Nobody predicted Vinny Pasquantino would be bad. It's not that he's been, or maybe he's worse than bad. I don't know. I think that has killed the team in a way that nobody would have ever predicted. And then it leads into the depth thing that, well, who, if not him, then who? There's not somebody, because the system hasn't built up to the upper levels yet. It's in the lower levels. That's where everything is. But the other big thing, the other big thing though, that I think that we all, and this could change, but that we all missed on for a moment, at least, is I expected Carter Jensen to be better than this. Both offensively and defensively. And some of it is simply that he had a slump and we're on the tail end or the beginning of the non-slump. And so it looks worse than it is. But he was really bad for, how long was it? I don't even know. 2.5 weeks. He's been much better lately. The power's kind of disappeared, which maybe is him saying, I'm going to get back to getting hits and I'll get the power back, which is fine. I don't have a huge problem with that. But him struggling, I think, has been a little bit of a disappointment too, because again, there's not somebody we thought that he could be the depth. If Vinny struggled, oh, you know what? Jensen showed the peripherals that this is not going to be a guy who struggles as a rookie. Don't worry about it. Maybe he can hit third. Well, let's pump the brakes on that. So I think that was something as well. that we missed on. And then, I do think that as much as you said you shouldn't have predicted you should have predicted the injuries. What are the odds that, again, it's the 1, 2 or 3, the closer, the setup man? Like that's a pretty big. Even if we predicted 2 of those 4, it's all 4 right now, and that's been a problem too. So I think those are some of the places we missed on it. I think they haven't shown the power that we thought they'd show, but a lot of that's because of Vinny and Jensen's power being down, and Caglione has not shown the power that we thought he would either. So yeah, it's there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah,
we were wrong.
Going next was the 2 young guys haven't been what we thought they'd be.
Yeah,
and that's been a problem. So listen, there is, which makes me think, okay, we go back to our original question, like when are they out of it? I mean, all these things could still come to fruition.
Well, here's the thing. There's 109 games left, and whether anybody wants them to play, they're going to play all of them. So, it's a long time to turn things around. Again, am I predicting it? No, but it's a long, long time. It's a lot can happen.
Yes. All right. Is the MVP Bobby Witt to lose?
Boy, the numbers are kind of crazy. In the American League, as of this moment, I'm going to use Fangraphs wins above replacement because I can update it through today versus Baseball Reference, which is a day behind, and we want to be up to date. Wins above replacement, Bobby Witt has 3.3. What do you think? I'll tell you, Shea Langoliers is in second. What do you think his wins above replacement is?
What's Langoliers at?
I'm asking you, what do you think it is? He's second. And Witt's 3.3.
1.8.
No, he's 2.4. So,
okay.
So he's still almost a full win better than second place, which is insane. I will tell you, if that holds, the way the voting, I don't know who's voting for MVP this year. It shifts every season. But the way that the voting class, whatever, votes now, if Bobby Witt Jr. is a full win better than second place, it doesn't matter if the Royals win 90 games or 65 games. I think he's winning the MVP.
I think that if he keeps going with that kind of lead, yeah, because I think they're so stat driven now. People like to have a fallback to point at as to why they made the votes that they made. I also think it's going to be harder and harder every year for Aaron Judge to keep staying healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Bobby Witt he's going to get him one of these years where he's healthy and Aaron Judge isn't. That's going to take him out of the mix. So yeah, I don't think it's fair to say it's his to lose, because I think Aaron Judge and the New York influence is still really big. Totally. But I would say that he's never had a chance as good as he does right now. And if he can get Bobby Witt smoking hot still, then he can just claim it at that point.
Yeah.
If he would have that kind of August and September that he had in 24, if he finishes like that, it'll be his.
For sure. Now, I think that, so he's on pace for about 10 wins, almost on the dot, which would be the second 10-win season, crazily enough. But if it's 10 wins to 9.8 and the Royals have 73 wins, I don't think he's winning it.
Agreed.
But if it's 10 wins to 8.5, I don't think it matters what the records are. So,
what do we think of the latest prospect rankings? Baseball America's top 30 is out. The Kelly McDaniel put his out. What are your thoughts about the way the Royals players are stacking up? They only had one in Kylie McDaniel's top 50.
Mm-hmm.
That was what?
Yeah.
Churio at 43. Does he have Churio at the top, or did he have?
Was he Churio, or was he? He wasn't Mitchell. I think you're right. I think it was.
No, it
was Josh Hammond. Josh Hammond. Yeah.
Josh Hammond. At 43, yeah.
Now, okay. Let's just use our little. We couldn't remember who it was as an example. I think that says a lot about the system, that it's gotten better. That
yes,
there were what do we say? 4 guys? How many guys did we name? 3 or 4, whatever, who we thought could have been a top 50 prospect in his ranking. So I think that's a really good sign that we named a few guys who could have been there. And yeah, we talked about this on the program the other day too, that he did his re-rank of the top 10s also. And you look up and down this list, Josh Hammond 1, Chorio 2, Mitchell 3, David Shields, who had a really rough start. His last timeout before this last one came back. He took a no-hitter into the 6th inning. I love when a guy struggles and bounces back. There is nothing that I think tells you more about a player than how they do after they struggle. And he had a bad start and came back and had a great one. He's 4. Sean Gamble is a really interesting one because when he was, I don't know how much of this is CYA speak and how much of this is actual conversation, but I was told recently that, hey, the Royals knew that Sean Gamble may not work the way that he was drafted, but they wanted to see because the tools are so incredible. And if they need to rework things, they will. Well, he sat for a couple of weeks. They reworked things. He's been much better. I mean, it's been a couple of games, but he's looked much better in video that I've seen. He looks smoother. It doesn't look so. He's got some balance issue. His swing. Yeah. The defense, I don't think was ever a real concern.
Well, they love the athleticism, the foot speed, all that.
Yeah, all that's there. And so again, you don't know if it's like, hey, I'm telling you this because I want to make sure we look better, or if it's actually true, because we didn't hear, to be fair, we didn't hear any of that on draft day. And I think if you really believe that, we probably would have heard it before. But regardless, he does look better. The swing looks so much better. And so, I'm looking at this top 10 and it's really interesting. And I think the name that I'm most intrigued by, not because I think he's the best, but on McDaniel's list, Justin Lampkin, who's already in Double-A. And he had a rough first start in Double-A. I can't remember what the numbers were, but then he went out. What day was it? Tuesday or Wednesday? I'm looking right now. I can't remember what day. It doesn't really matter. But the 20th, whatever day that was. And he went and gave up 1 run on 1 hit over 6 with 8 strikeouts and no walks in his second Double-A start. So you're starting to see the talent progressing. One name I keep hearing from people, and I got to look it up again. I want to say it right because I don't want to butcher it again. But he's the switch hitting middle infielder who can play outfield. Sounds a lot like Whit Merrifield. Of course, they don't have his pronunciation on Baseball Reference. Sam Kolasingam, I think, is how you say it. He's in Double-A and he is hitting, and he can play second. He can play third. They hadn't played him much in the outfield this year. He was in right field the other day. I would keep an eye on that promotion for him because that might be a guy they look at and say, we want to get him. We want to see what he looks like before the end of the season if we're out of it.
287, 405, 433, the slash lines for him. 12 doubles, 3 homers.
Not huge. What I was told was if you're looking for a Whit Merrifield, he is the one who would be it if it happens.
Okay.
So
just as far as type of player or age and everything.
I mean, I guess at this point, everything. He's already 24. So,
but he's not. But Witt was like 27, 28 when he finally got.
Was he? I thought he was 26 when he came. I guess he was 27 when he debuted. So maybe not totally age, but yeah. I mean, that type of player where he's versatile, doesn't wow you in any way, but gets the job done. Helps the lineup. If he's your best player, you're terrible. If he's your 6th best player, you're really good. That sort of guy. So he's a guy to watch, I think.
I'll go back to your point about the fact that there's multiple guys at the top of the list. Like Baseball America has at the top of the list. I can't remember which screen I had on. Here it is. Here they have Kendry Chorio and then Josh Hammond. They were the other way around there. I think, once they start making their way to Double-A, all of them, you mentioned Lampkin getting there, but then it starts to feel more real. Right. Like they're so far away, but I do like the fact that there are multiple guys that are looking really impressive. I mean, usually we look down at the Royals prospects and it's like, oh, well, they're promoting them early. Like they're not showing anybody. No one is like excelling. And now you've got people that are really excelling. And so
they're earning the promotion for once.
Yes. Oh, no, the Royals, it wasn't that they hadn't earned it. They wanted to challenge them.
Oh, right. Sorry. My apologies.
They wanted to challenge them. That was the feeling. I do also like that there's some, really young talent in there as well, that there's some feeling that maybe they've got some of the guys internationally, because it's been a while. Michael Garcia helps, right, when he finally turned the corner. But between Michael Garcia and Salvador Perez, there's Giordano Ventura, right? And that's it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anybody where, I mean, maybe there was a reliever who had a couple decent years, but
I mean, they have to do better internationally.
100%.
And it looks like, based upon where you're seeing some of the guys in their top 30 that are 17, 18, that they are doing better internationally. Kenry Churio, obviously, at the top of that list.
Churio, but there's also like Felix Arande has been much better. Angel Gomez, not Garcia, Gomez has been really interesting. As when did they sign him? Was that 2 years ago or last year? But anyway, he's seen as a guy who can hit in the middle, play center field, 30-30 type talent, which he's 17. It's easy to see the upside on those guys, but they've done well by evaluator standpoint on these lately, where they hadn't for a long time. So that you're right, that is great to see.
Well, and I'll tell you the other thing about Kenry Churio, he was signed for $250K, not $2.5 million. And I know $250K is not nothing. It's not what Salvi was like 15,000 or something,
10 or whatever.
It's not that, or 10,000. It's not the Salvador Perez story, but it does speak to the fact that they identified talent others didn't see.
Yeah.
They didn't just go like, okay, let's just blow everybody out of the water. And they didn't get caught in some bidding war, that would never end. And now they've got one of the best young pitching prospects in baseball. So, yeah. I mean, that is the good news. This week with those prospects lists coming out, I know they don't have a bunch of guys in the top 50, right? But I do think that was a real positive. We had Paul Gibson on the radio show on Friday. If people want to listen to that, 810WHP.com, 4th hour, 5 o'clock hour.
It was a great interview, by the way.
Well, he's always fun to talk to.
Yeah.
I was like, we need something positive. We got to talk about something that's good, and that was good. So to talk about the good young players. So, all right.
Our spot on Thursday was not uplifting.
No. Now you can catch that. That's in the 5 o'clock hour, the 4th hour on Thursday. If you want to get it, you can catch David and I chatting.
It was before the Royals won a series, so
yeah, totally different mindset. Now, hopefully they do well against the Yankees, and we'll have a fun conversation on Thursday.
Yes,
that's the hope. That's the hope. Listen, of course, check out David's great work. Inside the Crown is where you can get it. And code, any special code?
Oh, yeah. If you use insidethecrown.com/ or insidethecrown.substack.com/subscribe, and then put in Kaufman Corner, you get 25% off forever.
There you go.
Forever.
You beat it. Must read material. It's always part of my preparation. It's Inside the Crown. Check it out on the Substack. David Lesky's great publication. Of course, check out our great sponsors like Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's best for more than 30 years. You got any problems with your parking lot? If you own or manage a business, whether it's repaving a parking lot, new concrete work, crack filling, seal coating, full asphalt installation, their experienced crews handle it all. Go to GannAsphalt.com. One contractor, all things parking lot, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Our friends at Italian Delight, just a few miles east of the Speedway on State Avenue, 8145 State Ave. You can find them online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Don't forget, lunches starting at under $10. Get in there, tell them you heard about it here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. Their famous lasagna, wonderful pizza, the first to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City 50 years ago. Go online to ItalianDelightKS.com. And our friends at Greenlight Dispensary, 15 locations in Missouri. More on the way. Your go-to for all your cannabis needs. It's Greenlight. Tell them you heard about it right here on the Kaufman Corner podcast. For David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on Kaufman Corner.